Mining Network's coverage of the WNS is brought to you by GoviEx Uranium.
Hello, welcome back to Mining Network. I'm joined with Dan Major, the CEO of GoviEx Uranium. This is in advance of a conference next week by the World Nuclear Symposium, or World Nuclear Association, who are the organisers. Daniel, obviously it's a bit up in the air at the moment whether or not you're going to be at the conference because you might need to run to Zambia, and we were planning to obviously have a chat at the show, but just in case we thought we'd do it online. Tell us, why might you be going to Zambia?
As you probably know, we've announced a reverse takeover of TOMBADOR Iron, which will see us moving our listing effectively to Australia, but more importantly, accessing capital, putting us into an exchange with a more logical peer group, with companies like Bannerman, Deep Yellow, and partnering up with Matador Capital, who have brought forward the Honeymoon Project as part of Boss Resources, and brought into production, or currently bringing into production, Kylocaria as part of Lotus Resources. So a lot of experience in Africa, but also they've got experience in uranium as well. So a number of facets of that, but part of that requires approval from the Ministry of Mines and various authorities in Zambia. So going down to talk to the ministry, explain the rationale of our transaction and why it's good for Zambia. It'll bring in more investment to give us greater capital to invest on the Muntanga Project, which is the primary reason. And I think access to capital, that peer group as well, improves our capital raising opportunities for the further development of the Muntanga Project.
Yeah. I guess we should just do a quick overview of the project. I think most people, GoviEx has been around for around 10 years now. I think most people are familiar with who you are and know the story. But obviously, focusing Zambia with Muntanga, your open pit, heap leach, you've released a bankable feasibility study at the beginning of the year. I think you've just filed your draft EIA. So you're really progressing this project in the midst of a uranium bull run to be sort of build ready and go into production. What's the rationale behind this RTO now, and what does this, I guess, what are the benefits of it moving forward that you're envisioning?
As I say, many of the things I described in my previous answer are really the benefits of it. You know, we feel GoviEx, it needed also to kind of reset itself, but needed something to move it forward. And we felt these were really important. People still associate us very much with our Madawaela project, which, you know, we still have legal rights over, but our focus has moved very much towards Zambia. And one of our problems being on the TSXV, where, you know, there are 73 uranium companies now listed in North America, of which only a handful actually have any projects in Africa, and we're one of those. If you look at Australia, there are 21 uranium companies, of which half of them are in Africa and are at substantive scale as well. And therefore, we feel that there's a better position for investors who understand Africa risk, and our kind of projects. Our peer group with companies like Paladin, Bannerman, Deep Yellow is more appropriate. But also it's an opportunity to work with the Matador guys who've done this before as well, and bring with themselves a track record. And we've got incredible technical skills, as we've proven on the various feasibility studies. But we feel this will give us the extra edge, access to capital as well, that's going forward. And there were other parts to it. We wanted to rebrand, reconsolidate our shares. And so it effectively does that as well. I mean, we've got over a billion shares on issue, and this will bring us down to a third of that. We felt that the rebrand was important. It changes our board. We'll keep 2 of our board members, but we also bring on Keith Bowes, who was the ex-MD for Lotus, a guy called Steve Quantrell from TOMBADOR, who's a civil engineer and worked in the mining and energy industry. So it's a real shake-up to kind of say, all right, let's get really going on this project.
Okay, and in terms of the TOMBADOR, in terms of the RTO as well, have you spoken to the existing shareholder base of that company? From what I understand, hearing in the market, they've got a pretty strong register themselves. So when you're referencing access to capital with the ASX, I assume you're not just talking about the wider market on the ASX. You're sort of almost bringing in a new share register with it, aren't you?
Exactly right. And that access to capital with the grouping that's there, it's one of the things we looked out at as well and said, well, is this group that we're working with going to help improve our access to capital? And we believe that is the case. We could have just done, a listing, but we don't have a presence in Australia, and therefore going in with the right company, with the right group of people was also very important for us. And hence the reason why we're doing Tombador Matador combination, and feel that will really work for us and for the Muntanga project.
Okay, and have you had a chance? I assume the shareholders that you're RTOing into, have you had a chance to meet with any of them yet, or speak to any of them and sort of see how infused they are about investing into the Muntanga project?
Well, obviously they had to provide us, the core shareholders had to provide us their indications of interest right up front, which they've done. And of course, the board had to unanimously approve the transaction, and some of them are investors in and shareholders of Tombador, and they have done that as well. And then in Matador's case, they're buying a stake in the project as well. So, yes, we're seeing very strong support. We do not see their vote on 7th, 8th of October being any issue at all as part of this transaction.
Okay, and how does the timeline look now? Obviously, you've got this corporate activity going on, but in terms of at the project, like we said at the beginning, you've announced the draft EIA. How long does that process take, and what the steps involved?
Well, we filed 2 documents as part of that. So there's the ESIA itself, and then there's the relocation action plan. So both of those have now been filed in draft form. We're waiting for comments from the ESI, from ZEMA, and they take several months to do review. We will have to make those changes, as appropriate. And then there is effectively a roadshow by ZEMA to go around the various communities, district council, those kind of things, to make sure that everybody is happy with what we've been presenting and take into account the local population's opinions on the project as well. Now, obviously, we did a lot of work as part of the ESIA, and particularly the relocation planning with the community. So we're not expecting to see, but I would have thought we're probably now looking early next year at an approval on the ESIA, subject to whatever changes ZEMA wants to make. But I think the one point I would make, it is a very simple project. We took a number of the communities to Namibia, for example, to go and see what uranium mining looks like in Namibia, and they came back very enthusiastic about what they had been seeing in Namibia on the uranium mines there, and had not appreciated that how incredibly safe uranium mines are.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so in terms of I guess looking forward, how does the cost of capital look in terms of building the mine at the moment? So we were talking to Rick Rule yesterday. That video is going to be coming out soon as well, and he was quite excited by the uranium space in terms of capex bill, because you're essentially able to forward sell uranium. There's lots of mechanisms in place that now uranium guys, he was essentially arguing, have got a better cost of capital than, say, even a gold developer. So have you looked at different alternative routes of finance now for Muntanga?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things here as well. As while we've got the ESIA going under review, we're taking an opportunity to relook at our project as well, and saying, is there anything we can do to reduce the physical cost of capital that we've going out there? So we have an opportunity to increase the production rate with very little change in the capital structuring. So we've done a debottlenecking process as well. So we're relooking at that, see what we can do. Because the uranium price at the moment, spot, is around 74, 75. So we take that opportunity while we wait for the approval, and that's why we've done some of the localized drilling there as well, to add pounds close to the project to make it a bigger project that can last the same length of time. On the cost of capital per se, on funding it, there's 2 parts to that. One is the equity and the other part is the debt. And as you know, we've been working with Endeavour Financial on the LOIs. That's been very successful to date. But I think the one point that I would have there is we need higher uranium prices. So we did our feasibility study at $90 a pound. and we're well off that number at the moment. I mean, we could get away at a lower price, but obviously that leaves you with a very thin skin, and you're running on risk. And I certainly think we are going to see those higher prices. So it's a combination for us of trying to bring down the unit cost of everything and make the project better, at the same time working with the market. And I think also it's another reason for us to look at the ASX listing, and our expectation that we will get a better rating as a result of being in Australia. And that would improve our equity financing opportunities as well. So we're looking and working on a whole different range of things. We continue our conversations with the off-takers as well. And you can see where the term and the spot price are at the moment. But I think that's one of the things that's going to come out of the WNA, is that really, guys, there is a increasingly large supply gap coming down the track. And it's going to take projects like Muntanga to help fill that gap. And interesting, I was looking at the Chinese import numbers this week. Last year they only imported from 2 countries in the world. One was Kazakhstan and the other one was Namibia. And as you know, China has an incredible growth profile out there in building new reactors. And clearly, if it wants to meet its supply of uranium, it cannot just rely on 2 countries. It is going to need more countries to supply into that. Admittedly, we would be exporting out of Namibia, and that gives that opportunity for the Chinese as well. And we could export east and west out of here as well. So I think Africa is going to play a very big part in helping to meet the supply gap for the global nuclear demand that's out there.
Yeah, no, agreed. I think that in the last bull run in 2007, we were talking about before off screen, we saw quite a lot of mines coming online from Africa, didn't we, that helped fix that supply gap. Something else we were talking about with Rick yesterday, and he gave us a load of different things that were on his mind in the uranium sector. And one of them was all-in sustaining costs within the industry. How confident are you that you can keep, because you have quite a low ASIC from memory. I think it's, what is it, around $36, something like that, maybe even a bit less, 32. How confident are you that even with the changes that you're making and debottlenecking, that can also keep the ASIC down?
Well, I mean, that's why you're doing it. I mean, you're debottlenecking to keep your costs down. I mean, if we can get a higher production rate, then obviously you've got a substantive amount of fixed costs, and they are fixed whether you produce 1 ton or 3 million or 4 million tons. They're the same. So obviously you can if you can increase the volume and not increase your variable cost by much, then obviously you reduce it. If you can debottleneck and get more production out of the same process plant, again, you can bring that down. So that's really why we're trying to do that process as well. And I think the other important thing is, we have one of our biggest consumables in our industry is sulfuric acid. And Zambia is a net exporter of sulfuric acid. And will actually, within the region, there's going to be even more sulfuric acid available soon when Ivanhoe start up the smelter for Kamoa-Kakula. I think that will produce something like 600,000 tons of acid a year, and we consume 17,000 tons. And there's already, a surplus of acid in the market anyway in Zambia, out of the other copper belt smelters and coming out of South Africa. So, one of your biggest consumables that we have, which is a lot of companies struggle with on cost, is sulfuric acid, and there's a lot in the region.
Okay, all right, interesting. And obviously you've got Govin Friedland there as a long-term shareholder, and is it a board member as well, isn't he?
Right.
Yeah. So perhaps you never know. He might have some influence in sourcing some of that from Ivanhoe.
That'd be nice.
Yeah. Okay, so what about looking forward in terms of the next couple of months? Then you were talking about an exploration program. You were saying it's near the mine itself, are you? So how many meters are going into that, and how much work do you need to do? I guess the main thing is what the target is really for GoviEx to be able to expand the size of the throughput.
Earlier this year we announced an exploration program. I mean, it's actually really 2 exploration programs in one, and they're really targeting two different areas, and we're starting to look at a third area in this as well. The first part of it is, if we want to go bigger at Muntanga itself, we need additional resources close to the mine. And the real focus of that one has been Muntanga East, which is within 5 kilometers of the proposed mine site. So that would bring in additional tons direct. We're re-looking at a lot of the inferred resources that are sitting in within Muntanga and Dibwe East as well. So with a combination of those, there is potential to increase the overall production out of the mine and keep the same mine life. But beyond that, we have our own exploration potential. We have Kariba Valley, and so we've gone down to a deposit called Chizabuka, and we're drilling out at Chizabuka at the moment to see what other potential there is in the region. And clearly there's a lot of uranium within the Karoo Sands, and we hold quite a large section of the sort of western side of that. So we've got drilling there. But while we're out there, we're also looking at the other IP anomalies that we got at, well, there's a radiation anomalies, sorry, not IP anomalies, the radiation anomalies that are out there, to see where do we drill for the future and work out what that looks like. Within the Muntanga mining permit, there's a whole area to the north of that which have never been drilled, and it has anomalies on it as well. So we have really around the mine site, within our existing licenses where we haven't explored before, and we can see that there's potential for uranium to add to that. And then we're now starting to go to the third asset of this, which is, what about the rest of Zambia? What are the other opportunities that are out there as well? So we're starting to look at things like using AI as part of our exploration tool, not just the drill bit and our geologists' incredible knowledge, but to say, look, we've got so much data here. Why don't we put it in and see what the AI will tell us as well, and see what other opportunities there are in Zambia. We think Zambia is an incredible place to explore for uranium. It's a great country to work in. The skills that we've got there, the location that we've got with the infrastructure, the government stability, and the current government's real focus on mining all make it an excellent opportunity for exploration.
Can't really get a better jurisdiction in Africa. I think you look at the continued investment from people like Barrick. I know Rio Tinto are doing a lot of exploration in the area. You've got First Quantum, and obviously have quite a lot of copper projects in the area as well. It's everyone I talk to about Zambia is absolutely loves to work there and is pretty confident on the jurisdiction. All right. So what about on if, for example, I don't know how long this exploration program is going to take, because it sounds like in terms of the near mine stuff, what's that? Just a couple of month campaign?
Yeah, we've done quite a lot of it. We'll be able to announce towards the end of this year the results of that, and we'll see how that fits together with the whole mine plan. On the other exploration, this is just the beginning. As I said, if you look at the Karoo Sands, it's actually bigger than the sand basins in the US, but massively underexplored in comparison. So, there's a lot of potential for us to just expand out of where we are and what we've already got at Muntanga and look at other parts of Zambia across the board. So it'll be a slow and steady. We don't want to just have a mine and that's the end of our story. We want the ability to expand out and add new production, add new areas for exploration and development across Zambia. So yeah, it's more than just exploring for fun.
Yeah, it's more than just a one project sort of build and be done. Okay, so exactly. Obviously something that's quite exciting for investors. Obviously, I think there's a lot of value to be achieved from the drill bit, and that usually is something that is rewarded when new discoveries are made. But if we do just focus on Muntanga for a moment, obviously it sounds like a lot of this work stream is to sort of come into a head towards the end of the year, early next year. Are you anticipating that a new bankable feasibility study will need to be completed for the financing for the debt providers?
I think we'll look at it and see how the numbers work, whether it goes as directly or bankable feasibility study, or we just build it into a feed instead. See very much how that goes. As I say, it's very much trying to work around the existing project. There's nothing technically wrong with that project at all. It's okay, what can we do to debottleneck it and make it bigger? And we can already see a number of areas where we can put more throughput through, where we can take out capital items and say, well, we actually don't need that in the project, refocus it.
Okay, all right. So potentially Q1, Q2 next year, you could be in a position where we know a lot more about the enhanced version of Muntanga, and potentially then looking at, you'd think if the EIA and whatnot is progressed by then, maybe a build decision around that sort of time. Uranium prices beholden, of course, but on the exploration side, so you were talking, obviously you've got the stuff near the mine, which geologically is obviously going to be the exact same as what you already have. The license in Zambia, is there a difference in geology for the uranium deposits that you have been looking at further afield? Are there any differences in grades or thickness, or I guess the toughness of the rock or anything like that?
If you look at the majority of what we're looking at, it's Karoo sands. So it's pretty much the same across all benefits. So a lot of the metallurgical test work, a lot of the geological understanding is the same. There are other parts of Zambia further north where it does change, and you are looking at a different mineralogy, different geology, more complex as well. I think that's kind of fourth on our list of places to look at. It tends to be more associated with copper as well, so just makes it more complex. So again, maybe start with what's simple and what makes straightforward logic. It's shallow, open pit, easy processing, before we start really wanting to get into more complex structures, deeper underground mining or having to deal with copper as a byproduct that you've got to get out.
Yeah, because I think there are some iron oxide copper gold targets in the north of Zambia I've seen in the past. There's a few companies that have been poking around for that, and that's something that's similar to Olympic Dam that can come with uranium byproducts, can't it?
Well, Lumwana Copper, which is run by Barrick, has uranium in its resource, which they strip out to produce their copper.
The main to summarize, really, you've got a lot of work streams going on. You've got the corporate sort of RTO going on. You should be going into next year in a much stronger position than you are right now, really, aren't you? That's really the crux of where we are.
Exactly right. Exactly right.